l'Italia, sotto la guida del Littorio, inquadrata in tutte le sue formazioni rivoluzionarie, attingerà i suoi destini, arriverà al benessere, alla potenza e alla gloria.
Benito Mussolini was a born actor. He had remarkable powers of leadership and the capacity to inspire. But his dream of creating by conquest a second Roman Empire was fated to collapse. Italy was too backward and too weak to engage in major wars. Mussolini's elder son, Vittorio, now aged 73, visits his father's tomb in Predappio in northern Italy. Mussolini had been shot by Italian communist partisans at the end of the war. Vittorio remembers the ambitions of his father.
Mio padre, Benito Mussolini.
My father, Benito Mussolini, had a big dream. He wanted a strong and fierce Italy, respected for its law and order and highest form of social justice. He wanted a new Italian character, worthy of its Roman heritage and the brilliance of the Renaissance. Such a race could have been amongst the future leaders of the world.
To recapture the power and glory of ancient Rome had been the dream of Italian nationalists since the unification of Italy in 1870. They believed that to make the nation great must be the first objective of government. For many Italians, reality was far from glorious. Many lived in extreme poverty, and emigration offered the only hope of a decent life. In the First World War, thousands of young men had fought for a better future. Italy had joined the Allies in 1915 in return for a promise of colonies. When the promise was broken, Italians felt cheated. Nearly 500,000 men had been killed in a war that crippled the economy and spawned social tensions which made Italy all but ungovernable.
At the end of the First World War, Italy was in a state of total chaos and on the brink of a communist revolution. Rioting, anarchy, endless strikes, aggression and violence of every shape and form. When we, the Italian soldiers, came back from the trenches after 3 hard years of living and breathing the air of all the dead men around us, instead of being welcomed back by the Italian flag, we were met by the red communist one, as well as stones and insults.
As opposing political groups fought for power in the streets, many ex-servicemen joined a new, ardently nationalist movement, the Fasci di Combattimento, the Fascist Party. Its uniform was the black shirt, its objective to destroy communism and liberalism and build a powerful authoritarian Italy. Their leader was Benito Mussolini, a revolutionary socialist of peasant stock who became a nationalist and fought in the war. He was a talented, popular journalist and a gifted speaker who attracted mass support by telling Italians that he would make them great, that fascism would sweep away corrupt and inefficient government, revise the peace settlements in Italy's favor, and create a new empire based on Rome, the cradle of Western civilization. Ugo Peretti was a founder member of the Fascist Party in Milan and a veteran of many street fights.
There used to be some extremely violent battles with deaths on both sides. When we managed to catch our attackers, we'd take them back to the center and give them a beating. We'd also give them a nice glass of castor oil, which turned out to be a very effective weapon. I must say that they used to be more afraid of the castor oil than the truncheon.
In October 1922, Mussolini felt strong enough to make a bid for power, and his private army of fascist action squads staged a march on Rome. The leader himself remained in Milan. In fascist folklore, it became the overture to Mussolini's revolution. To prevent a fascist coup, the government had asked King Victor Emmanuel to call out the army, but the king, fearful of civil war, refused. He asked Mussolini to form a government. At first, Mussolini shared power with other parties, but within 3 years, he had created a single-party state.
Mussolini found Italy in a state of chaos, civil war almost. There is no doubt that he managed to turn Italy into a country that enjoyed law and order, that had no strikes, and where the trains ran on time. You didn't have those street fights between fascist squads and Marxists, which were so common before fascism. However, as far as we, the anti-fascists, were concerned, he secured law and order at the expense of freedom.
It's very easy to describe the repression. There was no freedom of the press. You could not publish a newspaper. Nor could you write for an existing newspaper and say things against fascism. You couldn't hold public meetings and say what you thought. Parliament was wiped out. You could not vote for the MP of your choice. Workers had to behave and get on with their work without making a nuisance of themselves. And trade unions were practically instruments of fascism. That was the nature of fascist oppression.
Mussolini's staunchest opponents were the communists. In the early years, the party's newspapers were burned in the streets. Many anti-fascists emigrated. Of those who remained, some 6,000 were imprisoned or exiled. Mario Vigna was a member of the Communist Party in Ravenna.
Nel 1930 fui arrestato.
In 1930, I was arrested and taken to the police headquarters, where I was badly beaten up. Because I wouldn't tell them the names of my comrades, they tested my resistance by sticking a red-hot iron into my chest. But I said nothing, not a word. After that terrible experience, I was sent to Rome, tried and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment.
Fascism was, of course, a totalitarian state. In fact, this word, adopted by every totalitarian state since, can be traced back to that famous phrase of Mussolini's, written on every wall in the country. Everything within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. But as people in Italy often said jokingly then, it was a totalitarian state revised and diluted by the almost total lack of respect for its laws.
Corretto, mitigato, attenuato dalla quasi universale inosservanza delle leggi. Questo dipendeva.
This was due to the nature of the Italians, who didn't pay much attention to the severity of fascist laws and their penalties.
Alla severità delle leggi e delle eventuali sanzioni.
There were two